Hey everybody, it's 10 o'clock and we're going to get started here in just a minute. We're going to, a bunch of people are just logging in now, and we should get started here in just a minute. I just want to let everybody know that we are recording this. I'm not sure that we'll necessarily use it or publish it, but we'll have it. And along the way, if there are any questions for us about things that you want to hear more about, you can go ahead and put those in the questions tab down there in the in your GoToWebinar control panel. We've got a few people monitoring those, and we will ask Aaron at the end, unless it's something really pertinent, in which case I'll completely interrupt him. So we'll get started here in just another minute, so hang tight. All right, everybody, it's 10:01, and so we're officially into our time here. So once again, my name's Tom Shamborn. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Instructional Technologies. I am joined by Aaron Purvis, our CTO. He's going to be our primary presenter today, and he's going to walk you through Sentix Pro. I've also got Mandy Davis with us today. She's our Director of Client Services and Director of Partnerships. And so between the three of us, we should be able to answer any of your questions, which again, if you have any, just go ahead and type them into that questions tab there in the GoToWebinar control panel. And so with that, I'm going to hopefully turn it over to Aaron Purvis, and you should be seeing his screen right now. So
great. Thanks, Tom. And thanks, Mandy. And thank you, everybody, for showing up today. We appreciate you taking the time. We know everybody's really busy. We're excited to show you some stuff about our newest product, Sentix. Pretty much everybody knows this as ProTread, but that's a brand name, not a company name. We're Instructional Technologies, and we have a couple products now. One of them is our newest product called Sentix, and that's a new training automation system. A lot of people think of it in terms of an LMS, but this is a little bit more capable than that, and it's built specifically for the transportation industry. You know, we've listened to a lot of client feedback over the years. We've been doing this quite a while, almost 20 years, and we're pretty much the only ones that have started out that I'm aware of that actually build specifically for transportation and the unique needs of that industry. So we realize you guys don't always have a lot of time, and you know, this should make life a little bit easier for you, give you the features you want, and for those things that we're not able to do, you know, natively, we've built this system to accommodate pretty much anybody's needs. So we've got a long wish list of stuff, and we can match that. So first, let's lead off with a quick little poll, because all good webinars start with a poll. Hopefully this works here. I'm gonna launch the poll real quick. Quick question: what features do you most wish we had on the admin side of ProTread today? And you can select one or more options there. Give it a minute and see what people say. Interesting results coming in already. Everybody's going to select all of them. I just know it. Actually, I'm not supposed to skew this, so I've got to be careful.
Yeah, be careful, because you know, it changes, like the way the cities vote versus the way the rural vote goes. You never know.
You never know. You never know. This is going to go. It's going to go interesting. Oh, okay. All right. 63% have voted. Get your votes in quick. There's no actual winning for voting here, I guess. It's there's no prize, but
that's my fault.
That's marketing's fault. That's right. Yeah. Call Mandy afterwards and
demand tchotchkes.
Yeah, demand something. Yeah, there you go. Don't know what. 81% voted. Doing good.
All right, we'll get.
All
right, one or two more of you go ahead and vote, and then we'll call it good.
88. Oh, we're really close. I'm excited.
Yeah, I would go ahead and do it. I think our remaining 12% are probably
not. Oh,
planned.
94.
All right,
94. See, I know how to get the vote in. I should run for office. Nobody wants. Oh, 100%. Wow, I would have never guessed that. Closing the poll. Now we're going to share the results. That's great. So 63% scheduled training. Boy, are you guys in luck. Compliance reporting, only 31%. Interesting. And 56% on email notification of assignments. Very good. Very good. Let me show you some exciting things. Let's see if this flips back here to my screen. It does. Great. So today, and I'm glad you all introduced, or excuse me, I'm introducing. I'm glad you have all responded the way you have, because I'm going to show you some really exciting things. One, not that we didn't know the questions we were going to ask ahead of time, though. So, the highlights. We have some very exciting ways to schedule assignments. We have some really cool ways of dealing with various assignment scenarios and things that you deal with on a daily basis. Scheduling assignments, bringing in new hire drivers, doing orientations, onboarding, that sort of thing, correction, or what we call remedial events, remedial training, and then dealing with recurring assignments as well. A lot of people haul hazmat or deal with recertifications and training that has to happen on a recurring basis, and we've got some exciting ways to deal with that as well. Some new reporting options in there around compliance reporting and such, which didn't seem to make much of a difference, but we've got some really cool stuff in there that you're going to like. Those 31% are going to love that. Great ways to deal with user management, being able to upload lists of drivers into the system or employees into the system, ways to tie into our APIs and automatically update users in the system so you don't have to manually add and remove people. We've made that whole process much easier. And a new exciting feature in here is user access levels. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The notion that there can be more than one type of user in the system with different access levels, different types of admins, different types of users if you want. And then, of course, what we're famous for or really good at is customizations and integrations with third-party systems and even with your own systems. So with that, it's demonstration time.
With an exclamation point.
With an exclamation point. So that's good stuff. Let me flip my screen here really quick. If I do this right, I think I'd rehearse this a little bit. And that should be on the login screen. Great. So this is the new login interface. You'll notice that Sentix looks a little bit different than you're used to with ProTread. Sentix being a kind of a separate system, ProTread being the content, driver training content and safety content within the Sentix system now. We just didn't have a name for Sentix before, and now we're kind of putting a name around it. So the first thing you'll notice is we've simplified the process. There's not an admin and a user login. There's just a login, unified login for both sides. I'm going to log in as an admin first and kind of walk you through what that looks like. Of course, it's just me, so it's Aaron. And the first thing you'll notice when you log in, based on customer and feedback, we've dramatically lightened the interface. We've been a black and gray for a very long time, and it's time for a little sunshine. So we've added that into the interface. As an admin, the first thing you notice when you log into the system is there's a dashboard here. There's all kinds of different stats and pieces of information that's helpful. This can be customized specific to the company. We show you recent usage, both by number of lessons and number of users, and top 5 trainees in the last 90 days, top 5 lessons assigned or taken, percentages of active users, lesson completion rates, hours trained, overall assignment completions, all kinds of stuff. And we'll talk a little bit more about this page when we get back into customizations a bit. But I want to jump right in on what everybody seemed to be the most excited about, which is assignments and scheduling. So click on the Assignments tab, and the first thing you'll notice, of course, besides the dashboard, is that all of the navigation is now across the top here. Instead of these long vertical lists of options, we've really improved and streamlined the interface. So it's much easier to jump around between, the dashboard page or reporting, jumping into manage users or assigning lessons. It's really quick and easy to navigate around the site. A couple things you'll notice on the assignments. One, we've added a new search function across the side here, and that allows you to search across all of the courses that you have available to you based on either the assignment or the lesson title, the category that they're in, the content of that lesson. So if you're looking for something specifically, you want to deal with tire fires or, backing accidents or whatever, it makes it really easy to search for those. And I'll show you a little bit more on that in a second here as we actually get into doing an assignment. So I'm going to add my first assignment. Click on Add Assignment. In this scenario, I think we'll set up some quarterly training. So I'm going to set up fourth quarter training for all of my drivers within the company. So I'm going to say Q4 driver training. And of course, unlike the current assignment system in ProTread, you can give assignments titles, and we also give the option to give it a description. One of the requests we had from clients was whenever they assign, say a remedial training or whatever, they're trying to deal with a specific incident or an accident or whatever, they come back after the fact and don't know why something was assigned. I mean, 2 years later, 2 years is a long time, and you got to remember, why did I assign that? Oh, okay, well, I've got notes in here on why I did. Can tie back to a specific incident or what have you. So, quarter 4 driver training, I can give it a description I want. I'm going to put in a date range. I'm going to go back in time a little bit, so forgive me for that, and say October 1st through, let's go December 31st. And it's a one-time assignment. I'll talk about recurring in a little bit here. And I want to assign this to all of my drivers in the company, just like that. And I hit continue. Now, the lessons that I'd like to go through, I want to talk about defensive driving a little bit. So I can do a search, type in defensive, and I get a whole list of lessons that include defensive or being defensive. There's one in here, this Pro Defense lesson, Approach to Safe Driving. I can click on any one of these, of course, and get more information about it. It gives me the approximate length of the lesson, last time that lesson was updated or refreshed. But the specific one I want to look at is this Pro Defense and Approach to Safe Driving. I like what that one's talking about. So I'm going to include that in my list of assignments here. So I come down here, Pro Defense, and I select Approach to Safe Driving. And, we're getting close to winter time, so I'm going to put in tire chains as well. And I click Save. And now that's an active assignment in the system. It's just that easy. Quarter 4, all of my users, or all of my drivers, in this case, will see those 2 lessons assigned to them.
So can I ask you, how do you schedule something for the future? If you wanted to do Q1 so that it only started January 1, how would you change that assignment?
You bet. So let's say we wanted to set this for quarter 1 instead. Or, no, I'm just going to do a new one because I want that to show up as a specific thing. So we're going to do a Q1. We'll say Q1 driver training. And helps if I type correctly. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, well, let's see, we need 2008. I'm using the little pull downs, but you can also just sort of arrow through them back and forth. That works well too. I'm going to say January. Ooh, I better get the right date. You can also type it in manually, thankfully. And let's say March 31st, 2018. Just like that. And again, I specify I want it to be for drivers. I hit continue, and let's see what's a good assignment for that. Avoiding fixed objects. How about that? I'm just going to pick the one lesson, click save, and now I have quarter one training pre-scheduled. Now I can do this for the entire year. I can do it for any time frame I want. It doesn't have to be by quarter. Obviously, it can be monthly. I could do it by, just 15 days, whatever I want, and I can set it for any time frame I want. On the user side of things, and I'll try to show that in a little bit here, the driver or the employee that logs in will actually see how many days they have remaining on that assignment. And in the case of this quarter one assignment that we just put in place, they won't see those trainings or those lessons come up until January 1st, 2018. At that point, they automatically appear on their menu.
And then it looks like you can edit those future assignments just by clicking the edit button in there.
So if I change my mind, come back in after the fact and decide, boy, I really want that driver group and all that, and I like the time frame, but avoiding fixed objects isn't enough. I really want to do some backing and docking training as well. Just that simply, I add that in, click save, and now I have both of those lessons added. And of course, with any of these, there's compliance reporting, but I'm going to show that in a minute as well. Let me do another one here where we're going to set up a new hire orientation. So I'm going to add a new assignment, and I want to set up so that every new driver that I add into the system as part of an orientation group automatically gets assigned the training that I want. I don't want to have to reassign it all the time. I don't want to have to assign every new driver that comes into the system manually. I just want it to automatically happen. With this system, it makes it really easy. So I'm going to say new driver orientation, and I'm going to make it a one-time assignment. And in this case, I'm not giving it a date range because I want the assignment to last forever. It stays forever. Once the driver or the people that I've specified complete this training, they don't have to necessarily take this specific training again to meet the compliance for this assignment. So let's see, give it a description, new hire driver, obviously training. Try to spell. And I'm going to, again, assign it to drivers. Could be to anybody. I'm going to assign it to my orientation group. I'm going to continue with that. And all good drivers need to take hours of service, which is a big issue right now and always changing, it seems. And then we're also going to do space management and speed management. And we'll save that. Now, this could be as many lessons as I wanted. But this now shows me that I've got this new hired or new driver orientation. It's assigned specifically to driver's job title and the group orientation. There's no time frame on it, which means that whenever somebody comes into the system, it will show up as an assignment on their list until they get it done. And then, of course, we can get compliance data on that as well. And I'll show you that really quick here. Whenever I view compliance for an assignment, I can see everybody that falls within that category. Now, I kind of salted this already with, or seeded it, excuse me, with two individuals in my orientation group. And based on the assignment status, I can see here, one has at least some or partial progress, and the other one has no progress at all. I can click on that individual, and what I'll see is the two or the three lessons that I've assigned to them. I can see that this person's already completed that first lesson, space management. They started speed management, but they're only 46% through it, and they haven't started hours of service at all. And then, obviously, once they've completed all three lessons, their compliance goes to green, and they're in good shape. Now, if I wanted to change the compliance date range on this, I can refine the report. I can do a lot of other things around that, but for right now, I want to show you some other stuff too. So let's go back into assignments.
I'm going to ask you a real quick question about the assignments there that you've got there.
Sure.
So if you create a new driver, say the new driver orientation group, and you've assigned it to the job title of driver as well as to the orientation group, in order for somebody to be assigned that, they would have to meet both of those things.
That is correct.
Correct. And yep. So if they came in and their job title was, say, I don't know, manager.
Yeah, technician.
Technician, but they were in the orientation group. They wouldn't be assigned to those because they do not meet both of those
criteria.
Groups, right?
That is correct.
And so then they're automatically added to those groups as they come in, as they're added.
Yes.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Yep. So, this is proactive training, and we are big fans of that. Scheduling training out ahead of time, so you could basically, it's kind of that notion of set it once and forget it, except you don't want to actually forget it. You set it and view the compliance. Just let the training take care of itself.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't roll off the tongue as well. No, it doesn't, yeah. Set it and don't forget about it. But there are those instances where we need to deal with remedial or corrective action. So I'm going to assign and set up a new remedial training or corrective training. Now, the nice thing about this is with the way that we've developed the system, and kind of just to the question you just had, we can prescribe training based on certain events or certain actions that have occurred that we want to try to remediate. And you can make decisions about how you want to standardize that ahead of time. Obviously, you can always customize training to the specific individual. You can assign whatever training you want to a specific user ID, and off it goes. But you can also establish groups ahead of time where you set up, as an example here, we're going to say this is a speeding remediation. I'll call it speeding correction. And what I'm going to do is set up training for a specific group, speeding, and then I'm going to assign some training to that. And what this will allow me to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick my speed management. And we're also going to pick, I think we'll pick road rage as well. You never know. And trip planning, because somebody needs to do a little bit better about that. Now I save that, and now anytime I have an individual with a little bit heavier foot than they probably should have.
Are you looking at me when you say that?
Yeah. Look at marketing. A little fast and loose. All I have to do is put them into that speeding group, and they're automatically assigned that training. Once they've completed the training, I can pull them back out of that group, and they just go back into my normal driver pool. I can set up groups like this, remediation groups, for pretty much anything I needed to: hours of service, speeding, backing incidents, you name it. There's all kinds of different things you could do with that. And of course, view compliance on it. And anybody that's in my speeding group, a couple salespeople and a marketing guy, obviously have issues, and they haven't even started them yet. So lots of fun things you can do with assignments like that make your life much easier. The other thing I want to show you on assignments really quick too, the third type of an assignment we have, I keep alluding to, is this notion of a recurring assignment. There's certain trainings that are required to be completed every period of time, whatever period of time, every year, every 2 years, every 3 years. And hazmat's a great example of that. It's a 3-year recertification requirement. Every 3 years, if you haul or deal with hazmat, it seems like even if you look at hazmat, you're required to be certified to do so. And so to make that process easy, we've built a recurrency feature into the system. The traditional method of dealing with hazmat training is you train everybody once a year, and you try to call it good, or you try to manage different schedules for different individuals and find out when they're recurrent again, and then make sure you remind them. And I'm due for hazmat training in January, but maybe Tom's due for hazmat training in June, and so what do you do? It's kind of a hassle. You got to do a lot of tracking and all that kind of thing. With this system, all I have to do is say, give it a title. I don't have to give it a training or an assignment as title, but it's easier for me to know. And I'm going to call it Recert. And I put in recurring, and I say every 3 years, because hazmat recertification needs to occur every 3 years. and I just leave it like that. I'm going to put in my hazmat group. And so anybody that is tagged with a group of hazmat will automatically receive this assignment every 3 years. If someone has not yet completed the hazmat training, but they are part of the hazmat group, they'll automatically get this assignment right away. For those that have completed it already, 3 years from January, I will receive my assignment again. And Tom will receive his 3 years from June. So it makes it really easy to automatically set up this notion of recurring assignments.
Oops, hang on.
Unmuted somebody.
Yep, that was me. Sorry about that. I got it.
Where's my hazmat? I'm going to put in hazard awareness. That is not what it is. Where's my hazmat training? Well, I'm going to put in the other one, environmental compliance. I haven't allowed myself access to hazmat training, unfortunately. That's great for a demo. There's always got to be one thing that you do wrong. And then I can, of course, always view compliance on that. So anybody that's in my hazmat group will automatically show up. And if I'm a user that's logged in, I will not see that assignment until my 3 years are up. So it makes it, it's a real easy way to manage those assignments and make your life a little bit easier. Now it just happens automatically. Every 3 years, the people that need it will receive that assignment automatically based on when they last completed it and based on their own personalized recertification dates. So instead of trying to get everybody all going at the same time, it just happens automatically. So with all of that said, we're going to do this really quick. We're about halfway, and we're going to do another quick poll. How far in advance would you schedule training? And you get one of the following options: 1 month, 1 to 2 orders, or a year. How far in advance would you schedule training? Already got 40% voted. That's pretty good.
That's
we have a pretty responsive audience. I like that.
Yeah. I think it was interesting earlier. You were saying that how you salted and seeded the data. It's interesting that salting and seeding both mean kind of the same thing.
Kind of the same thing,
but and yet if you salt
counter to each other.
Yeah, and yet if you salt something, the seeds will not grow.
No, they won't. That's bad news for gardening. If there's any gardeners in the audience, don't do that.
We'll be here all week, everybody.
Yeah, don't forget to dip
the witty banter.
Yeah, the witty banter. Yeah. We should start a morning show.
Worst morning show ever.
Don't do that. 87% voted. That's pretty good. We're still missing a few.
I think we'll call it good.
You think that's good?
I think that's good.
I was going to give somebody another chance, but no, that's it.
They've gone for coffee.
That's it. We've lost them. Yeah. Okay. So let me share the results really quick. Surprisingly, 1 year in advance. That's pretty good. I wonder now if we had put in a 2-year option, if we would have gotten more of that. But I mean, I realize it's hard to plan really far in advance sometimes. But a year is not too bad. That's pretty good. A lot of monthly training, obviously. Reacting to your company's needs on a month-by-month basis is critical, and it's a major role of safety in a company. Going 1 or 2 quarters out, that makes a lot of sense. Only at 23%, but 46% a year out. That's exciting, and that's sort of it's good to hear because it helps validate what we've built. So we're going to make your lives a lot easier. It's good. Thank you. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about the compliance reporting, a little bit more around there. I sort of alluded to that a little bit earlier. When we assign training, and I assign it to drivers company-wide, this is my date range that I've already specified. Any one of these, I can view the compliance, and I'm going to see where everybody within my company stands. Now, I didn't have time to set up a bunch of fake data for everybody in here. I'm sure I could find some lessons that would apply to everybody. But any one of these, I can see exactly where I stand company-wide or, population-wide, in this case, drivers. I can also refine these reports down. So if I said, this is great, but what if I said all the way back to 2016, just because I want to know? I could refine that report, and then it will bring in data from years prior. Of course, there's a few other things on here I should note. On compliance reporting, you can also, of course, export everything. You get all the data just like you normally would expect. Any one of these, when you click on View Compliance, it's going to show you, before you click on View Compliance, it's going to show you a percentage of completion. So my driver orientation's at 16.7. The nice thing with some of these, hazmat as an example, you should always be sitting at close to 100%. If all of your hazmat drivers are in compliance, that number will always stay kind of right at that 100%. So it's going to give you a nice completion range there. And some, like Q4 training, you're going to see that slowly grow over the quarter. So it's a great way to go. And where you don't have a compliance completion yet or percentage yet, you just click on it, and it'll give you a completion or percentage ratio. Makes it real easy to see just real quickly where everybody stands. So sometimes you want to know who's compliant, who's not, and sometimes you just want to know, oh, my number is 16%, and yesterday it was only 14%. So that's good. Or maybe I'm 98%. Who's that one guy that needs to get with it? Makes it easy to target in on those individuals that need the extra help. Let me talk a little bit about the report builder versus compliance reporting. In our mind, the compliance reporting is basically, who has complied with the assignment and who has not. And where are they? Where do they stand on that? Example here, we've got an individual that's almost complete, but they're 46% on this lesson and they haven't started that lesson at all. So that's helpful information as far as this assignment goes. But sometimes I need to know broader information. I need to know, on a specific lesson, just randomly, where do I stand? Who has completed a lesson, or where does this division sit based on whatever? And the report builder allows me to do that. Allows me to pull in a lot of different data, so I can do a quick report on pretty much any lesson that I have access to, based on lesson status, whether they're, any status at all, whether they're still in progress or complete. I can search for lessons that are started on a certain date or date range even. So I could say, well, I only want to see lessons that were started in 2016, and I'm going to go back here to January. 2016 through 12, 21, 2017. So that gives me quite a range there, the last 2 years. And then I could say, well, separately, I want to know when they were completed. So I could say, well, I want to know everything that was started in 1 month but completed in another month. And you might ask, well, why would you need to do that? Well,
sorry, why would you want to do that?
That's a good question, and you'd be amazed how many companies ask us for that. So we built it. So that's how this works. Fleets have needs, and when they call our help group and say, hey, could you guys do this? We say, yeah, we'll try to do that. What do you got? And if it's something that's applicable to everybody, we'll put it into the system, and otherwise we'll try to make it so it's customized to you. And I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes because that's kind of exciting.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing, yes. So obviously, we follow all your divisions, regions, locations. We have a way of dealing with a lot of different hierarchy within the system, job titles, groupings. We could search for just a specific user to see how they're doing. And I'm going to look at that user just to see how he does. So of course, we can sort and subsort. I can look for inactive users if I only care about people that are no longer with the company, or any status. I've got lots of options there. So here's all the training that Aaron has done in the last 2 years, and this is great. Of course, we can still export records as always. You can always view a certificate for any lesson that's been completed. And a nice new feature that was asked for by quite a few companies was the ability to print all of the certificates. So here I have this user, Aaron, and he's completed quite a few lessons. Looks like 8 of them. I can, instead of going through and clicking each one of these and printing them, I can say print all certificates, and it gives me this nice little output here. And when I print this, it will literally come out 1 certificate per page, and it's a nice little thing. Drivers love certificates. It's amazing. You know, we kind of live in a digital world, but the drivers love to have a certificate they can print out, stick on their wall, show their family, what have you, keep in the file, what have you. So we've made that process a lot easier. That was kind of one of those subtle features, but it's a nicety that people have been asking for.
But just like ProTread, printing a certificate, not necessary, because obviously we keep all of the records forever. You can print out those certificates whenever you need them.
Whenever you want them. Yep. Yeah. We do not expire or archive out or delete records. They are persistent for eternity. It makes for a lot of data, but we store that. So that's kind of the difference between compliance reporting and our standard kind of report builder. You know, a lot of times you'll probably be using more of the compliance reporting than you would think otherwise, especially because you're trying to get to that 100%. So let me talk next a little bit about user management. User management in the system has been greatly enhanced. Of course, you know, you can search for users, as always. You can search for a specific user ID or by the user's name, their user status, whether they're active or inactive. Of course, we follow the hierarchy of your company. So, you know, divisions, regions, locations. You can look for job titles. You can search based on group IDs, what have you. Different ways to sort that. And of course, that's all exportable as well. To manually add a user into the system, it's real easy. Click Add New User. We prompt you, hey, you know, you need to put in a user ID. So I'm going to put a user ID in. I'm just going to say this is my test person. I add that user into the system. It's going to ask me for some basic information. For those people that are looking for email notifications, you'll be excited to know that that's a feature in Sentix Pro now. We send notification emails to users. First, when they've been added into the system, so they'll automatically receive an email, assuming you put their email address in, that says, hey, well, you know, your company's added you to the Sentix system, and you can get to your ProTread training there, and here's the company ID and user ID you'll log in with. And then every time they're assigned a training, they'll get a notification that they've got an assignment waiting for them in the Sentix system. And we also have a follow-up reminder email, and I believe it's about 7 or 14 days out from their assignment expiring, to let them know that, hey, you know, you got an assignment sitting in the system, and you should get that complete. Log in now to get it done. So I'm going to go ahead and, because I don't want to be sending random emails right now, I'm going to talk a little bit about access levels, user access levels. By default, we have 3 basic access levels. Basic is your standard employee. That gives you access to log in and view the training menu, any assignments that have been made to you. Of course, you can view your own history, lesson history. You can print out your own certificates, but that's about it. You don't get any admin functions. You don't get to change anything or assign anything or what have you. That's just your going and consumer of training, if you will. The next level is an admin. An admin in this system or at this level has the ability to log in. They see everything. They get to see assignments. They get to see users. They get to generate reports and view compliance and all that. However, they don't get to modify anything. There are certain users within the system where you only want them to be able to see things, to view their own compliance. You know, so you have different locations, and you don't want locations assigning stuff to everybody. You just want them to know how they're doing. And this allows you to do that, assign that access level. And then, of course, there's the full access level, which gets to do everything. You get to assign training. You get to view compliance. You get to add users into the system and modify things, change things. So it's a nice way of kind of keeping that all constrained the way you'd like. Now, of course, you can add people into specific divisions or regions. So as an example, I'm going to put this person in my transportation division, and they're going to be in the Northwest. And of course, these are dynamic fields. They based on your hierarchy and your entries in the system, it will automatically pull in different people or different locations or regions, what have you. So in this case, I'm going to say they're right here in Vancouver in the Great Northwest. I'm going to give them a job title. They're a driver as well. And group ID. Now, group IDs, unlike the current ProTread system, there's a lot of neat options with those. We've greatly expanded that system. Right now with ProTread, you can only have one group ID per individual, or any given individual can only be in one group. With the new system, they can be in multiple groups. So as we talked about before, maybe I'm onboarding somebody and they're part of my orientation group. They're brand new. That makes sense. But I also know this person is going to be dealing with hazmat. So now I have them tagged with 2 different groups in the system. If I want to add a new group, I just type that out, and there can be spaces in there as well. As soon as I hit return, it adds that new group. If I go, I don't want them in that group, I take them out. Once I get everything the way I want it, I can hit confirm. If I had set up an email, that person would get that email, of course, and let them know. Now, I also have the ability to edit users, so I can go right back in and I can edit that user and go, no, I really don't want them part of the hazmat group. I want them in my OSHA group. Now, that's just that easy, and maybe I change their access level or what have you. It's really easy to change them, and then that automatically cascades through the system like that.
One of the things that we just heard from one of our client service reps that they were saying was a really helpful feature is depending on, when it comes to managing users, as an admin user or a full user or whatever, you have the ability to click on that user site tab up at the top to be able to take their own training, but also to preview lessons and things of that nature, because once they're in there, apparently that's a commonly requested thing, like not having to log out, log back in, et cetera.
You bet. And that's actually a good point. Let me
you come back to that.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that one. Remind me, because I don't want to lose that. I know I don't want to run out of time either. I could talk all day about this. So that's manually adding a user. It's that simple. Now, the other thing you'll notice here on the Manage Users tab is that we have this import user data. That gives us the ability to do a few things. We can obviously import a file that adds new users into the system, and I'll go into that in a little more detail here. We do give you the option to download an import template, and that's just basically a spreadsheet with columns that are predefined, for their user ID, their first name, last name, division, region, all that kind of stuff. And if there's interest, I can flip over, show it.
Well, you can click the continue button and just show people that there's just a simple upload.
Yeah, it's a simple upload. So from here, I'll choose a file. I click on this, and I apologize it doesn't show up because I go to a meeting, but you don't get my import dialog. But it asks me to find a file that I can then select. And then I can choose one of 2 options. I can either do a partial update, and what that's going to do is, let's say I'm adding 10 new people in the system, and I don't want to manually do that. I've already got a spreadsheet of these 10 people. I can do that partial import. It'll bring them into the system. It'll assign their groups. It'll assign their divisions, regions, locations, all that kind of stuff automatically, and add them in as new active users. I can also do a full user list. Now, where that's useful is where you're trying to keep all of your data up to date. Let's say you maintain a spreadsheet or a file, or you get an HR update that includes everybody within your organization. This allows you to do that full user list update, and what it'll do is it will add all new people in, all the people that are on this new sheet. It will update any existing users that are already in the system that match based on their user ID, and anybody that's not on the sheet you just uploaded, it will deactivate in the system. So it manages your seat count, it manages your user list quite effectively, and we use that full user list as authoritative. So again, anybody new gets added and or updated. Anybody that's not on that list you just uploaded gets deactivated in the system. And you just click import and off it goes. It'll also tell you if there's any errors with your upload or anything like that. Makes it real easy. And then of course, the third way to get users into the system, and our preferred method, honestly, because it's the most accurate, it's most timely, is through our APIs. We have several web APIs that can allow your HR system or driver management system, employee management systems to send us updates automatically and in real time. So if somebody gets added into the system, that system can trigger an event that just automatically adds them into our system. And if they get removed from your system, the same thing can occur. It automatically removes from our system. So it keeps everything in sync. We could do the whole hierarchy thing. And if you have preset assignments based on groups or specific locations, divisions, regions, whatever, as those people are brought in from your HR system automatically, those assignments will automatically populate as well. So it makes it a real easy system. I don't want to say it's hands-off because you want to be hands-on with the system, but it does automate a lot of that for you. It really cuts down on the work that you have to do and saves a lot of time for you to do the things that really make a difference. So
it eliminates a lot of the double entry, which is where a lot of the error happens. If HR is already doing it once, why are you doing it a second time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. We talked about searching users, adding users, that sort of thing. Let me show you a little bit on the user side real quick. Let's click on that. As Tom mentioned earlier, as an admin, I'm also a user of the system. And maybe I'm not a full admin, maybe I'm just a normal admin or a location manager or what have you. I may be required to complete training as well. And so I can easily switch back and forth between the admin site and the user site. And I can see the training that's I've either been assigned to me or I have it in progress already. And then, of course, if I'm looking for a specific lesson because I want to assign it to everybody in my company that would like to take it first, I have that option as well. So let's say I was looking for something on, a backing issue. So I could look for that, click that, and it'll automatically take me into the backing and docking lesson, which I broke. Oh, Aaron. Oh, I broke it. That's what I get for being in my demo site. This is a demo site. I should mention that as well. This is not the live site. So you can also see there's a little bit of lesson progress on these two courses. This one's almost to the end. This little green bar right across the bottom gives the user an indication of where they're at within that course. And of course, I can view my lesson history as well as a user, and I can print my own certificates from here as well. If I go back to the admin site, one final thing I wanted to show you here is under the help section. We have a whole help section with different topics. You can search everything from, how do I assign training to contacting help or help desk here. How do I get help from my account manager? How do I, creating custom courses, adding custom content, customizing menus. There's all kinds of stuff that we can provide you help with. So if you're ever at a loss for how to get in touch with us or how to get, the system working properly, we also pre-flight your system right here out of it, which is really handy as well. I think we're down to customizations. Yeah. So the biggest thing in the trucking industry or transportation industry is that everybody is unique. There's a lot of similarities, and we've built a lot of that into Sentix as is, but there's a lot of things that companies have unique needs or need solutions for, and we wanted to be able to provide a system that would allow us to meet those needs. We wanted to be able to say, sure, we can do that. And a lot of that is reflected here. But a lot of it, if you contact us and talk to your account rep or to the help staff, your client services, we can come up with a custom solution based on your needs. And just to give a quick kind of an idea of that, most everything you see that's below this white space at the top, from the browser bar down, is all completely customizable based on your needs. So, from the layout of the menus to the data that we show to the hierarchy within your company. If you wanted specific orientation percentages, based on, just a specific driver population in your group or what have you, we can develop those for you. If you want division compliance instead of lesson completion or hours of train or what have you, that's all possible. We also have the ability to add in customized modules around other things that don't even exist on here. So as an example, a lot of companies have policies and procedure manuals, documentations that they need tracked or hosted within the system. We have the ability to put those in as well and make those available to users. Basically, just give us a call, and we have a lot of options and customization around that.
Yeah, I like the idea of, we have a lot of our clients, and within their, say, divisions or different locations, they get pretty competitive about who gets their training done first. And I could imagine, the 3 dashboards across the top being, the Southwest division, the Northwest division, and the Midwest division, or something like that. And so that you would always have this sort of running tally of who was out front for that sort of thing. But that sort of, there's essentially, if you can imagine it, if the data is in the system, you can put it in the dashboard.
Yeah. Let's see, the other thing I think we want to talk about.
I guess that's me. All right.
Yeah.
So, well, that pretty much covers most of what we're going to talk about, and we're going to go into some questions here. I've been interrupting Aaron quite a bit, asking the questions as you guys have been asking me, so thank you for those. But there's a quick interest survey that will pop up after the webinar is over, and then you will also probably get an email with a survey that's pretty similar. It just, we're going to try to catch you one way or the other. So I think now what we'll do is we will try to answer some questions, some additional questions. So I've hit you with most of those. Why don't you flip back over to you the presentation?
You bet.
And we'll go through those questions real quick.
Full of questions.
Yeah. So first question, Aaron, what is the difference between Sentix Base and Sentix Pro?
Sure. So we have 2 different versions of Sentix, Sentix Base, Sentix Pro. Sentix Base is a lot like ProTread today, with a few niceties added to it. The key differences between Base and Pro right off the bat revolves around a lot of the scheduling and the assignments. We don't do emailing out of Base. You don't get percentage of compliance. There's not as many dashboards and that sort of thing. Base is kind of that, I don't want to say stock level version of the LMS, but for those people that are, maybe they're a small company, or they're not interested in getting into a lot of the automation pieces of it, a lot of the scheduling pieces and all that. That's the key difference. Both versions of Sentix give you some nice features that you don't currently have in ProTread. But it's, I think that covers it. Pro is a lot more.
Yeah.
It has a lot more to it.
Yeah.
And it's completely customizable too, which is Base is a kind of a stock.
Yeah. They don't have access to the APIs and things like that.
All that, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to flip to the next one.
Yep. That's right. I forget I'm driving.
That's all right. So when is Sentix available, Aaron?
Right now. Anybody that's interested, contact our client services group, and they will get you started.
That's right. Today is the first day it's available.
Yes. It's very exciting.
November 1st. We did it.
We did it. Yeah, we're here.
All right.
As
existing clients, Aaron, do I have to switch to Sentix?
You do not. No. You can maintain your current ProTread subscription. You can stay on the system you're on now, and love. We're not forcing anybody to switch over.
Yeah.
No, there's no conversion required. We made the choice early on that we're going to kind of grandfather a lot of clients in as is, because change is difficult sometimes, and we don't want to enforce that on our clients. So instead of being the mean company that just all of a sudden you log in and everything's different and you hate it, we've built a new system. It's a lot better, but you don't have to switch to it anytime real soon if you don't want to.
But the downside obviously is you don't get access to the features and things of that nature. It will be a pretty that code base will be supported, but it will not be expanded.
Yeah, we're not moving backwards. We're a forward-leaning company.
Yeah. So all right, I got one more question for you here, this is a great question. It's like this person has been reading our minds,
okay,
and listening in on our conversations. Talking about systems interacting with each other, does Sentix have the ability to link with their FMCSA SMS account? For example, if a driver got a speeding ticket, or say like their Vigilo account or something like that.
Sure.
If a driver got a speeding ticket, then it's posted to the SMS account by the DOT. Could it see that speeding ticket, then auto-assign speed training to the drivers via the Sentix account? And they said, it sounds grandiose, and sir, we agree, or ma'am, but that would be very valuable. And Aaron,
agree.
Yeah,
I agree. One of the things that we have built into Sentix from the beginning is this notion of connecting to other systems, pulling data from other systems or getting data pushed to us that allows us to trigger training and training events. So yes, and we'll have some announcements that I'm not supposed to talk about just yet, but we are working some really good integrations with some partners that will allow us to take in a lot of incident data, accident data from other systems, be them, potentially in CAD cameras, MVR data. You mentioned a company name there around Vigilo. Can't confirm or deny stuff that's going to happen, but a lot of that allows us to automatically assign training kind of based on what we were just talking about earlier with the speeding group. We're just automatically assigned somebody magically.
Yeah, hour of service. Yeah, and honestly, one of the best things that you can do is if there's a system that you have that your fleet is using to monitor your drivers in some way, shape, or form, and you can think of a way where, boy, it'd be really nice if we could just auto-magically assign that in there. That's the whole notion of training automation. Contact us through help@instructiontech.net. Give us a call, and but then also contact that provider and let them know that you're interested in doing that. And what will happen is their eggheads and our eggheads, that's Aaron, will get together and figure out how to get those two systems talking to each other. And then the trick is we'll then be consulting with you because you're going to want to do something with that data, and you're going to want to be setting up these sort of business rules, these automations, these assignments that'll happen in there. It's one of those things where the setup can go pretty in depth and can be very interesting, but actually you'll find that once you kind of start getting them set up, adding more of those automations, getting more targeted with your assignments and things like that becomes easier and easier. What Aaron has built with this is nothing short of amazing, and connecting it to your other fleet systems will really bring about the value for you. You will be able to focus your time on finding those events that need training. You'll be able to, build out your own training or work with our production group to help you with, custom training, things like that, instead of, managing spreadsheets and things like that. And ironically, the last little bit in here on our webinar is where it says get started. That's irony for you. And so if you'd like to get started with Sentix, get switched over, go ahead and contact our client services group. You've got to see the contact info there, help@instructiontech.net. Again, you'll get some emails probably from Mandy or I here in the next few minutes, and with contact info and a survey. You've got the phone number there. And if you have any further questions, we'd be happy to talk to you about them. Thank you, Aaron, for putting together this really great project and product and walking us through it today.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody attending and learning more about our newest endeavor here.
All right, can do. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.